Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to share with you how to draft a 3-part corset pattern. This is going to be an easy to follow tutorial and it is also beginner friendly. So even if you are seeing corset for the first time, you will also understand. So watch to the end. So as you can see guys, I've gone ahead to draw a straight line at the tip of my pattern paper. This will serve as my starting line and also my shoulder line. So my shoulder measurement is 16 inches. 16 inches divided by 2 will give me 8 inches. So I'll mark the 8 inches and also mark the neck width, which will be 3 inches. After that is done, I'll take out my armhole depth. My armhole depth here is my shoulder divided by 2. But you can also use the standard measurement, which is your bust divided by 6 plus 1.5 inches. After I mark the 8 inches, I'll connect it with a straight line. Then I'll also extend the straight line to the other side in order to create the armhole. After that is done, I'll come down at the neck width by 3 inches. Then I'll connect it with a straight line. Then I'll take out the neck curve. Now this neck width and neck curve is not really important for this tutorial, but I'm just trying to draft out the basic bodies so that we'll understand in details, because that's why I said this tutorial is a beginner friendly. As you can see, I've marked out the neck curve. So the next thing I'm going to do now is to take out the armhole curve. So on that armhole, I'll come down by 0.5 inch to take my shoulder slant. I'll mark the 0.5 inch. I'll connect it to the neck width. Then after that, I'll look for the midpoint of my armhole. The midpoint will be 4 inches. And I'll mark the 4 inches. Then on that midpoint, I'll go in by 0.5 inch. After that, I'll place my tape on this line under my armhole, which will serve as my chest line. I'll mark the bust measurement divided by 4 on that chest line. Then I'll use the French curve to connect from the shoulder to this 0.5 inch. Then from this 0.5 inch to the bust measurement on the chest line. Once that is done, I'll take my other measurements. From my shoulder to my bust point is 10 inches, shoulder to under bust point is 13 inches, and shoulder to waist is 15 inches. I'll mark it, then I'll use a straight line to extend it towards the chest line. Once I'm done with that, I'll take the dart line. I'll use the nipple to nipple measurement. The nipple to nipple measurement is 8 inches. 8 inches divided by 2 will give me 4 inches. So I'll use 4 inches on each line, on the bust line, the under bust, and also the waist line. Then I'll connect it using a straight ruler. Once I'm done with that, I'll connect the chest line to the center front this way. Just follow everything I'm doing step by step and you achieve the same result. After I've marked out all the line, I'll label it. The first line is the chest line, the second is the bust, the third is the under bust, while the last is the waist. So after that, I'll take out my under bust dart. I'll come to the under bust. I'll measure out 0.75 and the other side 0.75, which will give me 1.5 inches. Then I'll connect it down to the waist. Once I'm done with that, I will come to the bust line and measure the distance between my bust line and my under bust, which is 3 inches. The distance between my bust line and my under bust is 3 inches. So on that line on the bust line, I'm going to mark 3 inches all around that bust line. So I'm going to place my tape on this line on the bust and I'm going to mark 3 inches all around it. I hope you understand. If you don't understand what I'm saying, you can just watch what I'm doing and you achieve the same result. As you can see, I used pencil. You can also use pencil just to make sure that even though you make a mistake, you clean it and redraw it. And you can also use compass to do this. As you can see, I am done with the circle. So the next thing I'm going to do now is to place my tape on my shoulder and get the midpoint. So I've marked the midpoint. I'm going to connect that midpoint to this dart line this way. So once that is done, I'll come to the bust line and I'll come down by 1 inch and I'll also go up by 1 inch. Once I'm done with that, I'll use a French curve to connect the lines. So once I'm done with that, I'll come to the circle above the chest line and I'll go in towards the center front by 1 inch, then I'll go out by 0.5 inch towards the armhole. After I've marked that, I'll also go out by 0.25, that's quarter of an inch. This is in order to avoid gaping because you don't want to have a loose cup for your bust after you wear your corset. So once that is done, I'll use a French curve to connect from that 0.25 that I marked out this way. I'll connect it to that 1 inches and I'll also connect it from the other side to the 1 inch this way. So the next thing I'll do now, I'll come to the chest line and I'll come down by 0.5 inch. Then at that 0.5 inch, I'll go in by 0.5 inch. Then I'll connect it with a straight line this way. Once that is done, I'll come here and look for the midpoint. I'll mark it. Then I'll come down at that mark by 0.5 inch and I'll mark. This will serve as my new chest line. Then I'll extend the line towards the end of my pattern paper. Once that is done, I'll place the French curve to connect from this dart line to this 0.5 inch I came down from the chest line this way. I hope you understand what I'm doing. I'm going to place the French curve on the other side too and connect the dart line to this new chest line that I've marked. I'll just connect it this way. So the next thing I'll do, I'll connect the 0.25 inch that I marked on this side of the curve down to the 0.5 that I marked below the chest line. I'll also place the French curve at the other side and connect from this 0.25 to the new chest line that I marked this way. As you can see, our corset is coming out. Please, if you've not subscribed, please subscribe and click notification bell to get notified whenever I upload new videos. So the next thing I'll do now, I'll place my tape on that 0.5 inch below the chest line and I'll mark 2 inches and I'll come down on the other chest line too and mark 2 inches. Then I'll place my tape on the curve above the chest line and I'll mark 2.5 inches. I added 0.5 inches on the two sides of the dart line above the chest line because it's higher than the other side of our cup. So once that is done, the next thing I'll do now, I'll connect these dots together. I'll connect these 2 inches here to these 2.5 inches, then to the 2 inches on the other side. And we have our 3 pieces for our corset. This is number 1, number 2, and the up one is 3. This number 3, after cutting, I'll close it up with a tape and trace it on another pattern, then I'll cut it out, but that will be later. The next thing I'll do now is to take the round bodice measurement. So on the chest line, I'll take the bust divided by 4, which we've done before. Then I'll replace the dart I took for the bust. This is 2 inches. Then I'll place the 2 inches back on the chest line, and I'll do the same thing on the bust line. It's the same measurement, the chest line and the bust line. After replacing the dart I took out, I'll add 2 inches for sewing allowance. Then I'll come to the waist divided by 4. I'll mark the measurement. Then I'll measure out the dart I took out, which is 1.5, and I'll replace the 1.5. Then I'll also add 2 inches for sewing allowance. Then I'll connect it with the straight line from the chest line to the waistline this way. After that, I'll come down from the waistline by 1.5 inches. You can come down by 2 inches, 3 inches, or even 1 inch. It all depends on what you want. This will serve as our sewing allowance. So this is basically all for the 3-part corset. You can see it's easy and not difficult. So I'm going to draft out the back bodice before we cut. So this is my back bodice, and I've marked out my chest line, my bust line, my waist, and also my sewing allowance. So the next thing I'll do now is to take my dart line. I'll come to the bust point and I'll take the dart divided by 2, which is 4 inches. I'll mark the 4 inches on that bust point and on the waist and also on the sewing allowance. Once that is done, I'll connect it with a straight line. Once that is done, I'll mark 0.5 inch on the 2 sides of my dart line on the waist and also on the sewing allowance. So since this is a back bodice, I'm going to extend my dart line to my chest line. Then on that chest line, I'll place my tape and come down by 1 inch. Then I'll use a straight ruler to connect the 0.5 inch on the 2 sides of the dart line to the 1 inch below the chest line. Once that is done, I'll impute my round bodice measurement, the bust round bodice measurement plus 2 inches or 1.5 inch for sewing allowance. In this case, I'm using 2 inches. Then I'll come down to the waistline and I'll also impute the waist measurement and replace the dart I took, which is 1 inch. I'll replace it and also add 2 inches for sewing allowance. Once that is done, I'll connect it with a straight line from the chest line to the sewing allowance. So the next thing I'll do now, I'll come to the chest line and come down by 0.5 inch. So this is in order to have a stylish look on my back whenever I'm done joining my outfit. The next thing I'll do now is to cut. This is my back bodice and this is also my front bodice. So I'll cut the two and show you what it looks like. So I'm done cutting. What I'm going to do now is that I'm going to join this number 3 together. As you can see, they are separate and they're supposed to be in one piece. That's the third part of. So I'll use the tape to join the third piece together and trace it on another pattern paper. So I am done cutting the front bodice. Before I arrange it for you to see, I'll cut the back bodice too. So guys, this is what the front and the back bodice looks like. I hope this video is helpful to you. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe for more. See you in my next video.